Welcome, Eden Army. My name is, of course, Pete Robert Tucci, and this is a special broadcast of the Eden Army podcast. It's blowing up over there at kick.com, guys. So if you're not over there, make sure you get over there. Meta, Kelly's over there, Patrick's over there, Ed's over there, Terry's over there, all that good thing there. But I got to tell you, tonight's show is brought to you by our friends, Battle Ready Arms. For all your custom firearm needs, make sure you reach out to them. And don't forget to tell them you're a member of the Eden Army. They will certainly hook you up. I promise you're not going to beat their prices. So give them a shout out if you could. Well, Russ is in the background. It's blowing up again over there on Kick. I'm just looking at everybody over there. That's very cool. Maybe we'll pull up chat here in a little bit. But been kind of a boring weekend for me. All I did was go for a little tiny stroll in the woods. Nothing really special, nothing hard, just a little walk in the woods. Well, if you guys have been following some of the other podcasts, the Mountain Readiness podcast I was on this week, or maybe the Angry American podcast, you would know that I am kidding. Some of you already know that me and a few of my friends went out, we tested our gear from Juniper Springs to Hidden Pond, a short 6-mile hike through the Juniper Prairie, and we tested out our gear. Could we live off of our gear for 3 days? Everybody thinks bugging out is a glamorous thing. I'm just going to throw my 3-day pack on and I'm going to bug out. No one's going to catch me. I'm going to gray man it. What some people don't realize is you're going to need just a little bit of endurance to make that happen. And we didn't even have our full bug out bags. We just had what we were going to live on for 3 days. We didn't have the freedom seeds with us that we normally would have. We didn't have some of the creature comforts that would add weight to our packs. So I think it might have been an eye opener for some folks, but I'm extremely proud of what these folks did accomplish. Russ is waving in the background, so before I forget, make sure you do the scan here. I'll leave this QR code up so you guys can get hooked up at Battle Ready Arms. Now, I told Russ I wasn't going to do this, but Russ, I'm going to do it anyway. This is the kind of work those folks at Battle Ready Arms do. Milling out the sight, Cerakoting the slide, raised optics, suppressor style optics, all for a very, very reasonable price. So give them a shout. With that being said, like I said, I'm extremely proud of what everybody did this weekend. But before we go into that, and before we have those folks, some of those folks online to talk about their 6-mile, nice, easy walk in the woods, there's a liberal meltdown going on. Elon Musk and Doge, just U.S. aid, just dismantling it. Some are calling for Elon's outright arrest. Others saying they're going to go to war with us. One liberal pundit even said she's going on a hunger strike. No comment. No comment at all about that. Go on a hunger strike, sweetheart. You'll be all right. You last a couple of weeks. You're going to be just fine, I promise. Wow. I don't know. But one thing that shouldn't be overlooked during all of this is the thing near and dear to my heart. Remember, guys, even though the Orange Man is in office, it's still February. In February, as we all know, we have to pay homage to the African Americans in America. So I'm going to pay homage to my favorite African American, celebrating a man who has done more for this country than a lot of other people, even though they're calling for his arrest. So I'm celebrating South African Elon Musk. Keep up the good work, brother. So that's what I got there for that. Well, what else I got? It's blowing up over there. Jeff's over there. Bullshit's over there in kick.com. Let me check this other chat real quick, Russ. Make sure I see if anybody else is. Eric Hoy is over there in YouTube world, probably all by themselves over there. Yeah. So listen, if you're on any of the other platforms, Battle Gnome's over there. He's in Kick. Sandy's over there in Facebook. If you're on any of those other platforms, do your best to get over to kick.com so you don't miss anything. Guys, do me a favor. Like I said, I'm really proud of what this group did during our 3-day hike. So I put together a little bit of something. It's a 3-minute video. Bear with me. Watch this video. And let's applaud the people that actually went on this ruck and tested their gear and their endurance.
Dan, Big
Will
Dan.
took 30 extra minutes.
Congrats, ladies and gentlemen. Congrats. You did a great job. Hopefully, we're all going to do it again. We'll see. But it's a real accomplishment, right? It's not just talking the talk. It's getting out there and living the lifestyle, right? Now, I know it was hard for some people. Some people wanted to give up right at the get-go. It's okay. That's all right. You did it. You finished the task, and you know now that you can continue doing these type of things. So keep it up. All right. If you had trouble with these 6 miles, make sure you don't relax. You already got your trail legs under you. Walk a couple miles a week with your backpack on and make it happen. Right. So we had a really good time. So I mentioned earlier that the liberals are losing their absolute mind about this USA thing. And I've got a ticker down here, and this is just some of the wasted funds that we're seeing with USAID. Really an avenue to funnel money not only to the Democratic Party, but to terrorists all around the world. Okay, there are many photos out there with terrorists in a USAID tent showing off their RPGs and their weapons and stuff like that. This is a money funneling scheme, and the Democrats are losing their mind. Have you ever wondered how these Congress people live on a congressman's salary and then come out and all of a sudden they're millionaires? It's for organizations like this. It's because of organizations like this that are continuing to funnel their money into these NGOs, these non-government organizations, right? To push a liberal agenda. And we're seeing that. The Orange Man is seeing it. Elon Musk is seeing it. And now they hate him for it. And not only do they hate him for it, but they also are calling for this.
Republicans, that we will not take this. We will fight back.
Fight back. Fight back.
And as I close out, because I know we've been out here for a long time, and goddamn it, shut down the Senate. We are at war. Anytime a person can pay $250 million into a campaign and they be given full access to the Department of Treasury of the United States of America, we are at war.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Russ, welcome, Russ. First of all, welcome. Can you imagine, Russ? Can you imagine if the Orange Man got up there and said, "We're at war. We are at war with these people"? Could you imagine what the liberal media would say?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And we talked about it, briefly right before. They're already losing their head. They already got this freaking idiot senator or House representative dude from Texas is already calling for articles of impeachment because they're just dastardly deeds. What is he, a freaking criminal and Batman? I mean, it's ridiculous.
And here's the thing. They say, we didn't vote for Elon Musk. Trump made his agenda very, very clear. And his agenda included Elon Musk to go in there and clean house, much like he did with Twitter. So, yes, we did vote for this. And I'm sorry that we're getting into your piggy bank right now. I'm sorry we're getting into your retirement fund, your slush fund. But we voted for this because, gosh darn it, it's our money. Right, Russ? I mean, it's our money.
Exactly. And people that are complaining about it, we know they didn't vote for Trump. We haven't heard anybody that we know for sure that voted for Trump is complaining and going out in the streets. And, over on Kick, I think it was Jeff said something about, Representative Jeff was taking the fight to the streets. FAFO.
Careful what you ask for. Russ, you know who I didn't vote for? I didn't vote for Fauci and his fake science.
Nope.
I didn't vote for his fake vaccine. I didn't vote for any of that. But guess what? I got it. All right. So there you go. You want to talk about? I didn't vote for that. I didn't vote for transgender mutilation of children. I didn't vote for that. But guess what? You crammed it down our throat for 4 years. I didn't vote for men in women's sports. But guess what you did? You crammed it down our throat for 4 years. So I don't care what these liberals think they voted for. F you. This is what the American people voted for. So there you go. Oh, for those of you new to the show, I don't know if you know this or not, but you just found out I am not politically correct. I am not monetized by any channels, so they can boot me off whenever they like. Don't care. I'm just here telling the truth. So Russ, like I said, I got the ticker down here with just some of the wasted money going on, and USAID, the press secretary,
through USAID over the
had
past
this to
several
say.
years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
And that is exactly
I tell you,
what
man,
we voted for.
She has been owning that press room.
Yeah, well, they're not used to actually getting somebody that actually has some backing and actually knows what they're talking about, is not allowed to go up there and lie, is not allowed to go up there and say, no, there's nothing wrong with Dementia Joe. He's fine. He's as spry as he's ever been. He's as spry as he's ever been, Russ. Now look, we all know, right? That was a cover up from the highest level down to the lowest of secretaries and stuff like that. So the press corps has their hands full with this young lady. So
has anybody actually even seen Dementia Joe since Inauguration Day?
No, because he's probably in a nursing home. Secondly, I did hear he signed with an entertainment agency today or yesterday. I don't know what kind of entertainment this guy's going to put forward. Probably because he's got a book that I don't. Maybe it's a freaking coloring book. I don't know. But
Teletubbies, what?
I got no clue. I got no clue. Larry, thank you, for the resubscription over there in kick.com. I appreciate you, brother.
He's going to play Oscar the Grouch on the Iraqi Sesame Street. That's it.
There you go. Russ, we've got, like I said, we've got some special guests in the house today. These are the people that actually went ahead and did our hike, right? Now, this first guest we have is someone I've had on the Florida Trail. I've had this young lady on the Appalachian Trail up and down the mountains of Georgia and North Carolina. Someone I'm very proud of. She always puts her pack on, doesn't complain, puts her head down. She doesn't want all that chit-chatting and stuff going on. She wants to get from point A to point B so she can relax, right?
So, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely, leave her alone. I was going to make her sign, and the next time if we do this again, I'm making the sign or a T-shirt or something that just says, leave me the fuck alone.
Right.
For her to wear when she gets ready to do the hike, because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Her little pep talk that she gave everyone.
Yeah, she wanted to keep everybody up. She wanted everybody to know what the ground rules are. And look, when I'm hiking with her, I make sure I don't make eye contact, Russ. I don't make eye contact with her, right? I don't say too much. If I hurt myself, I don't grunt too loud. All right, I just stay back. It's like I'm walking with a mountain lion, right? I got to be real careful. So, without any further ado, someone I am very proud of, my sweet daughter, Tiny Tooch.
Hi.
Baby girl, welcome. Oh, am I allowed to still call you baby girl? I know I took some grief for that in my book.
Yeah, you're allowed to. It's not weird.
Cool. So, Tiny, we're glad you're here. It's very rare that I get you on camera. The next rare sighting is going to be your mother, by the way. But that's going to be really rare.
Extremely rare.
Baby girl, we've hiked all over the place, right? Me and you used to do that same hike once a year. And just so the people, the viewers know, what made you want to spend 3 days living out of your backpack, hanging out with all of us? What made you want to do that? Is it something you just enjoy doing, or tell me what made you want to do that?
Honestly, my favorite part about camping is when we sleep and you can just hear all the animals talking around you, all the sounds. I just like being out in the woods.
Now, what was it like? Now we had a lot of people with us, and there were a lot of people at the campground. So we heard a lot of snoring. Did you hear any of that? Or were you out like a light or what?
I heard you and Mother snoring, but I didn't hear
How
anybody
dare you?
else.
I don't think I ever snored.
Flipping the dime on mom and dad. Loving it. Love it.
I'm sure it was way worse over by Will's tent though.
Yeah, and we had everybody spread out, right? So it wasn't too bad. Cool. Now that was one of the first hikes, baby, that we actually, for the most part, went with such a big group. How did you like that? And did you enjoy the camaraderie between the people, or you just rather once you get at camp just be left alone?
No, I thought it was fun. I wasn't annoyed, so I enjoyed talking with everybody even when we were walking. The only thing I didn't like though, um, was when we got there and there were so many people that came in after us. It was really crowded at that place. It usually never is.
Yeah, and usually that we pretty much have that place all to ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, very cool. Russ, you got any questions for Tiny Tooch?
Did you prepare for the hike, Tiny, or did you just go in cold and just based off what your normal fitness level is, or what?
And I didn't prepare at all. Now, I am working right now, so I feel like my legs are a little bit stronger than when I wasn't working. But yeah, I didn't prepare at all. I packed my bag like the day before too. So I put it on and I felt that weight and I was like, "Oh, it's good. We'll be fine."
Baby, how heavy do you think your pack was?
Well, I weighed it. I weighed it before I put my water in. So that was 21 pounds. And I put about 3 liters of water in.
Yeah.
So about
So you were
6
almost
extra pounds.
27 pounds, 28 pounds, and you're a real
Mhm.
tiny gal. So
That's
that's a
a
good
third of my
job.
weight.
Yeah, that's a good job, kiddo. Yeah, I mean, it really is. That's a good job.
Rock
Russ, what you got?
star.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a rock star carrying a third of her weight. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
What was
Wasn't
that?
that bad.
But baby, what was that number one item that you had out there in your pack that you couldn't live without? I'm not talking about shelter. I'm not talking about water. I'm not talking about food. What was that one item that kind of just gave you that little bit of creature comfort that you enjoyed?
So I actually got a solar panel, my first ever one that I got, and I was kind of scared that it wasn't going to work. But when I set it up, oh, and I got the rechargeable batteries for it too. So I had a whole setup out there. I could charge my phone, all that.
So phone entertainment type of deal.
Mhm.
All right.
Well, and the
Well,
fact that the solar panel just worked. Like I've never had a solar panel that worked that good. I was
yeah,
so happy.
that was a good panel. That was a Goal Zero with rechargeable batteries. So those are really good panels. And it was funny, Russ, because she brought that home. So normally she goes to the store and said, "Hey, Dad, can you put some money on the Cash App card because I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, whatever." I say, "No problem, kiddo." But she didn't ask me for the money for that because she knew I'd be like, "No, we're going out in the woods. You don't need to be charging your stuff. Turn your phone off." But true story, right, kiddo?
Yeah, but it's cool that I have it now. What if
That
we
is.
don't have power?
I'm
Now I'm
with you.
set.
I like it, kiddo. I like it. I
Yeah,
like it.
absolutely. And so, what would you change about? Would you change anything that you brought?
Yeah, so walking there, I definitely wouldn't have packed as much water because I probably drank about a liter walking. Um, I also would have brought a chair. My mom's chair, that was smart of her. I should have done that.
Yeah, that was a game changer, right?
Yeah.
That was good. That was worth carrying the extra weight. So
Mhm.
good deal. What was the worst part of the hike, kiddo?
Um, I don't think the hike was that bad for me. On the way back, I was booking it, so I was good. But I think the worst part was probably the last night, just because I was in my hammock and it got a little bit cold. So I was all balled up in my sleeping bag trying to keep that warmth in.
Yeah, so That is true, Russ. Last night we got down in the low 40s, and if you do any hammock camping at all, if you don't have an underquilt, once it gets about 50 degrees, 60 degrees really, you start to get really cold because you compress all that stuff in your sleeping bag. So now you've lost all that insulation value, right? So
Absolutely.
cool.
Cars just said and ticks. That was also my least favorite part, was how many ticks that I had on me. Because I was too stubborn to put on bug spray. That's why.
Yep, that's a true story. That is a true story. You were stubborn. You get that from your mother. You know that, right? You don't
Well,
get that from me.
she had it all sprayed down. I didn't want to smell it.
No, you get the stubbornness from your mother.
I don't think that that's true at all. But
Oh,
okay.
how dare you.
Good
Russ,
try though.
I'll have to agree with you. I'll have to agree with you. Get that from I think you get it from
Maybe
that.
it's a mix of both.
Right
Maybe I'm
there.
just really, really stubborn.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Either that or you got a double dose of it. There you go.
right. Russ, what you got?
So I know this is, to me, this question is kind of silly, for Tiny especially. Would you do it again?
100%. Especially once I do it and I get my legs, I just want to keep going.
Yeah.
And it was my understanding that your pack was a whole lot lighter coming out, not just from the food that you ate on the way out. Is that true? Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I did eat all of my food pretty much, and the little snacks that I had left, my dad took them in his pack without him knowing. And he
here's
put
the
them
deal,
all in
Russ.
one pack, and I did not say anything.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anybody bring more snacks in my life. I mean, there's no. If she kept those snacks in her hammock with her, she'd be a bear taco. A bear would come up and eat everything. And sure, they loaded up my entire pack with all of her snacks that she didn't eat, and I lugged it out for her. But it was well worth it. Anytime you get to spend 3 days with your youngin, it's worth those extra couple of pounds. I suspect. Baby girl, any advice for those that want to do this, or those who look forward to doing it again? What would your advice be?
Your pack is always going to be heavier when you're 1 mile from your campsite than when you first put it on and you're testing it out. So my advice would be, at least put your pack on with everything in it and go walk. Go do a mile, go do a little bit, just see how it feels, cuz if you're uncomfortable walking, you're not going to want to continue.
Very good. Great advice, kiddo. Thank you for being on. I know we got a couple more guests we're going to get to, but thank you. I love you with all of my heart.
Love you. I'll go get mother.
There you go. There's Tiny Tooch, for those of you that don't know. My inspiration, Russ, for writing 3 Days to Eden. She's my heart and soul. That's for sure. So that's her take on the hike. I mean, but you're right. She's kind of a rock star.
Yeah. And we'll have Sandy and Patrick. We'll get that information on what size Goal Zero panel she used, and we'll put it up on the Eden Army Facebook page. And
yep, it was. I'll put it up there, but I will tell you right now, it's only a 5-watt panel, and had rechargeable batteries with it, so it recharges AA's and AAA batteries. So very cool. So should we just roll into the next guest? What do you think?
Yeah, let's just roll. Just roll.
Okay. All right.
Looks
let's
like
see.
we got Mama Tooch in.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see. I see her still getting ready. Send her up on the camera. And here we go.
Hi.
And there she is. First
Sit up a little bit, Mama. Get centered up on that camera. Mama, your first ever hike with you and your mini me.
Yeah.
You've never, for the most part, in our 20 plus years of being together, you never put a pack on to go hike in the woods. You had certain things you had to do in the woods that you've done for the very first time. That was exciting for me. We won't talk about that right now, but there's a little bit of things that happen there. What'd you think? What'd you think for your very first hike? First of all, what made you want to go out with me and baby girl this time?
Well, I wanted to see if I could do it.
Yeah, and you could. You rocked it, didn't you?
Well, I did it.
You got it.
I don't know if I rocked it, but I did it.
So typically we, it's just me and baby girl. We actually had a big old group with us this time, which was kind of cool. How did you think the camaraderie went between all the hikers and stuff like that? You thought, did you think everything went well, or
Oh, I think
would
it
you
was
rather?
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody was helping everybody else and encouraging and cheering everybody on.
Yeah, just a real sense of community out there, right? If somebody
Yes.
forgot something, then that other person might have had it. If anybody in the entire campground or the Ocala National Forest needed a snack, baby girl had it for them, which was which was kind of cool, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Russ, go ahead.
I think my favorite story, and before we get into further, I think my favorite story was Melissa bringing the 6-pack of beer.
Mm.
That I heard. That was just that story made my entire weekend after hearing that story. But did you prepare for the hike, Melissa? How did you prepare?
I walked a couple times, about a mile with my pack on, just to make sure, because I've had, multiple surgeries on my back. But that's all I did.
Yeah.
So my pack ended up being about 28 pounds, same as
Wow.
Brianna's. Yeah.
Very cool. So Brianna had mentioned on her little interview there, that one item. What was that one item that just made the difference in the world to you? I think I know what that's going to be.
So
What
it was actually 2 items.
Okay.
You guys suggested sunflower seeds on the way there.
While you're walking, yeah.
I have to tell you that made a huge difference because it kept my mind busy and I wasn't concentrating on how much I was hurting.
And what was your other item?
Oh, the chair.
The chair.
The chair, which you sat in, even though I carried. You did sit in it a couple times.
Well, I had to set it up and make sure it was safe for you to sit on. I'm a protector. I'm the protector of this household.
Pete, it's your story. You tell it how you want to hear it.
Go ahead, Russ. What you got?
So, what was the number one item that you couldn't live without?
Well, that was the
your
chair.
favorite?
Yeah, that was the chair probably, or something.
Yeah, the chair. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you change? Okay, then what would you change about what?
I would have brought more water back. I ran out of water coming back.
Which means
I
I
was
ran
eating
out.
too many sunflower seeds.
Which means I ran out of water coming back. Is what that means.
Yes, that's correct. You did. Yeah.
So
I finished
another.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely finished yours. And another thing that was good to have was the electrolyte powder, right? When
Yes.
we're walking and stuff like that. That helped me out a lot, and it just got that taste out of that water, right?
Yeah.
I think that made a world of difference for me. That was good.
Yeah.
What was the worst? What was the worst part of the hike?
I think the bug bites. I did get a few bug bites. And I sprayed everything down.
Oh, you sprayed everything
I sprayed
down?
everything. And I wore nylons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Russ told me I should wear nylons.
Guys, and just a heads up, this was not a bad time of the year for bug season. This was not that was not bad at all. So, would you do it again, kiddo?
Yeah, I would.
And what advice would you have for someone who was wanting to do this 6-mile hike out in Ocala Forest? What advice would you have for them?
Well, definitely, I should have walked more before we left I would have adjusted a few things on how I had my pack, and I should have prepared more.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Definitely
So
sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds and Jolly Ranchers, right? Jolly Ranchers are a lifesaver also.
Yep.
So, very cool, kiddo. Thank you for going on a hike with us. Thank you for spending 3 days in the woods with us. I know your daughter really enjoyed that. And you got to do a few things you never did before in the woods.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. And we'll tell the audience all about what that thing was that you did here in a little bit.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Love you. We'll see you in a little bit.
Love you. Bye.
Interesting times, Russ.
Oh
Interesting
yeah,
times.
oh yeah. I mean, Teresa and I, stayed back here at your place and watched the dogs, and we had a great time with them. They all got along. A little jealous that I wasn't on the hike. If we do it again the next year, maybe I'll be able in better shape to be able to do it. That's a goal that I want to set myself to be able to do it, get in a little better physical shape to be able to do something.
Yeah. So yeah.
But
So certainly,
you
just
gotta know you have to know your limitations.
yeah.
And I didn't want
And here's the thing. That's what I was
to.
telling everybody, Russ. If your plan was to bug out, um, if you haven't at least tried it, at least tried to walk 5 or 6 miles with your pack on, you're doing yourself a disservice. And there's nothing wrong with that, but do it. Even if you fail, then know that you have to use a different method of bugging out, right? You have to, you have to maybe get a bicycle, maybe get one of these electric bikes or whatever. So there you go. Very, very cool. Let's see who's next on the agenda. You guys, I'm gonna look at chat real quick and see if there are any particular questions. We answered what size goal 0, got that 5 water. It was a goal 0, Sandy. Somebody said we asked if we saw any critters. We didn't see anything in particular. I think Angry American saw a big buck on the way in. We did hear a lot of coyotes during the night, and just the normal stuff that you would see in the Ocala National Forest, sandhill cranes, stuff like that. So
It looks like we got Christy up next.
we're gonna bring Christy
She was
in.
kind of a rock star out there, from what I understand.
Well, we're about to find out what she thought of it.
There she is.
There you go. Young lady, welcome to the Eden Army podcast. You're always in the chat. You're never on the camera. So
Nope.
it's first of all, what did you think of that video we put together?
I want to watch it again on a bigger screen, but
Oh,
it was nice.
yeah.
It really got a lot of the moments.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff, right? Thank you, Sandy. I know my family is amazing. So Chris, first of all, let me say this. On the way out for the first 6 miles, on the way out, you'd have never thought Chrissy hadn't hiked before. She was in front of the pack. She was leading the pack. And basically for the whole 6 miles, I mean, I think you were the first one at Hidden Pond. You were in front of everybody. I know you were probably facing some mental turmoil inside there, but you just put your head down and went. But what in the world made you want to spend 3 days living out of your backpack?
One, I had to be with my tribe, fear of missing out, whatever. But I just needed to experience it. I really thought, really honestly, I thought I wasn't going to make it all the way beforehand, before we got out there. I was like, then
Mhm.
what am I going to do? But I wasn't going to back out. I wasn't going to let myself down, my guy down, my tribe down. Wasn't going to happen.
Right.
Um,
So you did really good.
Thank you.
We spent a couple days. We spent one full day where we can relax, and then of course now we have to make the trek back. Right, we have to make that 6 miles back. Now our legs are tired. Right, we're still carrying weight on our back. Did you find that the trek back was harder, or did you find it easier because of that day's rest?
Well, I think if we'd only stayed one night and turned around and came back, I'd have been in real trouble. I did need that day's rest in between.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean the trek back was harder. I didn't hydrate as well as I did for on the way in because I didn't feel well the night before. I think that had a lot to do with it. I didn't eat right before we went out there, so the lesson learned on that.
Mhm.
Still got through it. We still plotted through. Will kind of led our little group back. He did a phenomenal job. He could just glance at me and tell, okay, no, she needs some water. Christy, open your eyes. Because that last mile and a quarter coming back, that was hard.
Yeah.
There was some
Yeah.
crying.
So, I mean, but that's a good experience, right? Because
Yeah.
remember now, if we're talking about bugging out, maybe it's not just one day and then we rest a day. Maybe it's one day and then we got to hump it the next day. And then we might have to hump it the next day.
Right.
So it's good that you experience that. It's good that you know where your limitations are. I think if you take that experience you had and apply it at least once a week, I'm not saying go 6 miles once a week. I'm saying go a mile, go mile and a half. You will certainly have an easier time at the next hike, and now you'll know what your body's capable of. And remember, your mind's going to tell you to quit long before your body does. I promise you that. So it's overcoming that mental aspect.
And it
Go
works
ahead, Russ.
kind of the other way a little bit too, because I mean, I felt my body starting to it's not on the way back, definitely. It's not wanting to go anymore, but I was pissed and I wasn't going to punk out. And I just, let's stop. Nope, let's get to the top of this hill. No, we find better shade. It's if I kept going and kind of got mad about it, it was on.
There you go. So turn it into anger, right? That's what Daryl Donnelly taught his daughter Lakin in 3 Days to Eden. Turn whatever your feelings are, whatever your misery is, turn that into anger and apply that anger to achieve your goal, right? So cool. I'm happy for you. We got Russ. You got any questions?
Well, Christy, how heavy was your pack?
25-ish. I didn't weigh it once I got the water on. I was in the 20-ish range. I was higher than that after the podcast. Went back through, chucked more. But I didn't want to know exactly, but I was right around 25.
Okay.
Very cool.
Would you change anything about what you brought?
We would.
Knowing, let me caveat that with knowing that you were only going to be out there from Friday to Sunday.
Right.
Would you change anything?
I think I might have left my Pathfinder cook set at home, and we would have taken our rocket stove type system, because a lot of people out there had that, and it was so efficient and so much faster. Definitely that would have been the big change.
Yeah, so just shaving off a few of those ounces here and there, right? Might have made a world of difference. Yeah. I agree. Now when we're bugging out, we like redundancy, right, Russ? We like to have a backup for a backup sometimes. But bearing in mind that, listen, we're only doing a 6 mile hike. We're walking in, we're walking out. It's the end of the world is not happening. So yeah, you could scale some of that stuff down, or you could just go full bug out pack like one of the guys did out there and see what you're made of. And I'm talking about Dan. Dan did a friggin' phenomenal job. He really took this opportunity to test his gear.
Oh yeah.
Every piece he went out and he tested, and that's what this was all about, right? Not just testing yourself, testing your gear, testing your endurance. It was just a great experience for me.
Oh yeah, I'm very proud. I'm proud of all of us. I'm super proud of myself. And those of you who haven't been proud of yourself in a while, do something, because it's amazing. It's amazing.
Absolutely. It is that sense of accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Christy, in the last year, you've had a lot of aha moments and a lot of moments to be. And I've been blessed to be able to be there for a couple of them. Troy's game.
Oh gosh,
and you were a little clipped on the day of training we had prior, and we talked. You and I had a little chat about it. We talked through it, but on the day of Troy's Gate, you were a rock star, and for that, I'm really proud of you for that. So
I think I've discovered between those two events that I'm kind of push comes to shove, I surprise myself. I bump up a little level.
100%, 100%, and that's all from just not pushing yourself, right? Because you don't want to. None of us want to get outside of our comfort zone, right? Because we don't know. We're afraid of failure, right? That's what it's ultimately about, right, Russ? We're just afraid of failure. Sometimes you have to fail to know where your deficiencies are, or maybe you just shine, Russ. Maybe you just shine.
Exactly. Right? And, you and I have said this on numerous podcasts. It's better to fail in training. And that's what last week was. It was training. It's better to fail in training than to fail in a real world.
Yeah, exactly. So, Chrissy, any advice for someone who wants to do this?
Do it, first of all. Do
Yeah.
it. Have a good group with you, people you trust. Walk before. Wear the pack to see how it feels. I was surprised. I did really well with my pack. I think I would change it and get a more hiker backpack maybe down the road. But my calves, boy, they tightened up like a son of a bitch. It was bad. But my pack really didn't bother me except right under my arms a little bit. I was real proud of that. But just walk, actually use the pack and hiking poles.
Hiking poles are a
Game
lifesaver,
changer for
aren't they?
me. That was perfect. It's just enough to help you keep your balance really well. So you're not worried about that in that shifting sand. It was amazing.
Sandy Davis over at Facebook has a question for you. Chrissy, what would you recommend you eat the day before?
The day before, we kind of just ate, you know, because we knew it's going to be rough, and we ate well while we were there, but just kind of eat whatever you want. Don't worry unless it's something that's going to upset your stomach. I kind of kept that in mind.
Yeah. And so
That's
usually,
bad.
when I'm training for a half marathon or something like that, day before, we always carb load.
Yeah.
I mean, we eat as much pasta as we can so
Yep.
we can live on those. So,
Yeah.
Chrissy, I appreciate you, young lady. I'm proud of you, first of all.
Thank you.
Will, you're up next, so be advised. And then Guy will come get tweaked up in the with the headset over in baby girl's room. So, Will, you are up next, young man. But Chrissy, good job. We love you, sweetie.
Thank you. Love you, Army. Bye.
Bye.
Very cool. I'm so proud of her, right? I mean,
Oh yeah,
she's come a long way. I
you
really,
really have.
I enjoy seeing her progress, right? And another one that's not just talking the talk, right? She's literally walking the walk. She's doing it. I love it. I love it. Apocalyptic Prepper. This is the guy whose name is Apocalyptic Prepper. All right. And he actually was able to come with us, which we really appreciate. So without any further ado, Apocalyptic Prepper. What's up, brother?
What's up, brothers and sisters? What's up, Eden Army? How's everybody doing?
Oh, I think everybody is doing awesome now that this weekend is over with. We're certainly glad to have you. Thanks for coming on the show, first of all. And now listen, you're prior military. You've done these rucks before. You've done these walks before to a higher level under stressful situations, right? But what made you want to break out and try to accomplish this at our age now, right? And with other things going on, what in the world made you want to do this for 3 days, brother?
So I wanted to be part of the book. I wanted to experience what you wrote in your book in Eden, 3 Days to Eden. I also wanted to spend time with my friends and people that I care about. And lastly, I wanted to see if I could still do it. As everybody, my friends know, I recently suffered some injuries and I had to fight through those. And I'd been lying around for the last couple of months. I put on some weight and I didn't train up for this at all. So I wanted to see how it was going to be. For the average person, it was a pretty good perspective for the average person who doesn't train up for these things. It's the end of the world, whatever. And you have to bug out. You're just going to grab what you can and you go out there and you try and move. It was not easy. It was not easy.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't easy, especially, and look, you come from a military background where you pack everything you need to live on. Your pack was heavy. How heavy was your pack?
It was about 45 to 47 pounds with the water.
Yeah, so half the weight of my pack, right? I mean, it's a substantial walk, even though it is only 6 miles. You're going through juniper prairie. You're going through the sun beating down on you, and that walk out was kind of rough. Walk in was kind of rough, right? I mean, there was a point there where we had to rest and say, look, I don't know if this is for us, right? I don't know if we're going to do this. We're falling out here, right? But we
Yeah,
were that. When that was happening, how close were we, Will?
I was about 50 feet.
Yeah.
I was about 50 feet from the end, and I just couldn't take another step. People talk about having the mindset of I'm not going to stop, I'm not going to quit, because your mind can actually push you past what you think your body can handle. But my mind failed me, my body failed me, everything failed me, and I was right there at the end, even though we had taken a couple of rest stops along the way.
Yeah. But look, we got our breath, we pushed through. And once we got to the pond, you took about 30 seconds break, and then you went and found your camp spot. The sense of accomplishment, the boost you got from finishing, that was all it took, right? That was all it took. So
that was all it took.
Cool. Now we had a bunch of people with us. How'd you like the group that we had with us? How'd you like the camaraderie? How'd you like all that? Was it a good group?
Fantastic group. Everybody was helping each other. Even Tiny Tooch stopped a few times along the way. Everybody was wanting to help everybody, and we did a lot of times. For example, Susan, with this water filtration system that she had, I didn't bring enough water for the journey. A lot of us didn't. So, I think most of us were getting our filtered water from these bags that we were hanging from the tree. It was fantastic. Dan brought a charger. Obviously, I went to Amazon. I went out and I bought all these things after the fact. But just a little solar charger so that we could check in with our families when our phones died. And they died quick. Even though we didn't have great service, we still needed service. Yeah, the group was great. I couldn't have asked for a better group.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Koala has a question for you. So explain what we did, Will. She asked if we hiked in, camp, then hike out the next day.
Okay, so no, it wasn't the next day. We hiked in on Friday morning, and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning when 8:30, when we set off from the parking lot at Juniper Springs. We hiked in the 6 miles. It took us 3.5 hours, at least for me. Some people were a little bit faster, but yeah, 3.5 hour hike, and then we set up camp, and the rest of that day was spent resting, setting up, improving your fighting position, as we like to say. And then the next day, we hung around the campfire that night. The next day, we just relaxed. We did our cooked. We collected firewood. We filtered our water, and we lived out of our packs. And of course, that night we went back to eating and preparing for the next day, getting everything set so that we could just pack up and leave in the morning. And we did a 6 mile hike.
Yeah. So you mentioned the book earlier, and of course, again, that was my inspiration for the book, me and Tiny Tooch doing that hike. But we also got to meet another character in the book.
Yeah, James on his bicycle.
And now, he came out on his bicycle. I'm not saying that he should have been out there on his bicycle, but he somehow, being James, made it out there, took alternate paths, I'm sure, bushwhacked his way through the woods. I don't know what he did, but now you kind of saw, and you didn't go over there to see some of the stuff that he was doing back there, but did I depict him fairly well in the book, or
you nailed it? You nailed all of your characters. I mean, really. It seems like you can reach out and pull the heart out of or the soul out of a person, and somehow translate that onto pages in a book. It's amazing what you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Jim, my buddy Jim, is an easy one to right about because he's a quiet person, right? He's got an intellect that you don't he doesn't have to tell you he's smart. He doesn't have to tell you what he's done or what he can do. He just does it. And Dan reminds me of a lot of Jim also. So I'm glad those two together were a good match. So absolutely. So would you do it again, Will?
Absolutely. And I want to do it again as soon as possible, actually. I want to train up for it this time. Now I have a better idea of what I should have in my pack. And at least I know what to expect this time. Of course, in the military, Russ knows we did 12-mile ruck marches and, anywhere from 60 to 80 pounds in our rucksacks. But we were also probably 40 pounds lighter.
And 40 years and 40 years younger.
And 40 years younger. Yeah.
So I got a question for you, Will.
Yeah.
What was the number one item that you brought that you just couldn't live without, that you would bring every time you go out?
Well, I would have said the Dalton knife that somebody forgot to bring.
Shots fired.
Okay. You know what? We're out now. Just so you know, you're going to have to wait for the second.
However, Angry American brought his Dalton out there. So I did get to test it out in the field. The number one item that I could not live without, Pete, you know where I'm going.
Oh, I know exactly where you're going.
This camping chair. The camping chair. And we have a new nickname for the camping chair.
Yep, that's the poop chair. I tell you what,
Chair.
you don't have to find a dirty old log infested with ticks. You simply move the fabric over. There's nothing to hit down bottom. Park it over a hole, and there you go. Poop chair.
Very nice.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
So
yeah.
I guess the second part of the question then would be about, with everything that you said your pack was about somewhere between 45 and 48 pounds, what would you not bring?
I would not bring as much water as I did. I brought way too much water. The other thing I would not bring is I brought this little survival kit. It's kind of a first aid kit from Fieldcraft Survival. It weighs about 1 pound. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, it's not a lot of weight. I would have traded this out for a firearm any day. However, in that situation that we were currently in, sure, if you're bugging out for a while, you want a first aid kit, right? But this was way too much. I didn't need this.
Well,
anything I could have shaved power.
Just that's a nice little package that first aid kit comes in. And I don't disagree with you about having a first aid kit. Take it out of the nice little package, put it in a Ziploc bag. That saves you. Ounces equals pounds, pounds equals pain. So, what advice would you give the folks that haven't done this yet, or intend on doing it again, or might want to test?
Well, going forward, I do plan to be better prepared for this. I've been out of the Army now for 6 years, and I've been working on physical fitness, eating right, exercising, but the exercising that I was doing was lifting weights. So it was all about ego, right? And looking good. I wasn't doing any kind of tactical movement. I wasn't doing any cardio, mobility. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. And really, if you can, I mean, for example, we had one person say, "I'm not bugging out. I'm going to bug in," right? We had one person say, "I'm never doing this again." I don't recommend that. I would say put your best foot forward and do what you can to stay in shape. And like Christy said, get a walking stick, okay? I made one while I was out there, and I gave it the old, I don't know if you can see this on camera.
Eden Army. I love it. Good job, buddy.
So, yeah, I made one while I was out there. This was key. This was a really
and it's just it's good to have have something to do with your arms, right? While you're walking, sometimes. Very cool.
Thank you.
So I certainly appreciate you coming out there with us. I'm glad you were able to overcome what you had going on and made the ruck with us. I think it was a learning experience. Well, we love you, brother. We appreciate you, and thanks for being on the show.
Love you guys. Good night.
Bye bye.
Take care, bro.
All right, next up, he did really good, especially on the way back. Like Chrissy said, he was a real motivator. We kind of broke up into two different groups on the way back, and we had our team in the back and our team in the front, and he was a real motivator for that back crew. So we certainly, Russ, we certainly appreciate that. Now, one thing I have to mention, because I'm looking at it in chat. So whenever Mr. Jimmy comes around baby girl, he puts her to some kind of survival test, Russ. He puts her to just a random survival test. So what he did was he gave her a flint and some steel and says, this is all you have. You get one strike. And you better make a fire or we're all dead. So she went and she found the tinder she needed, the perfect tinder. She found the perfect little fire thing. She did everything perfect. And I could tell she was a little nervous, right? Because now we're all watching her, right? We're all keeping an eye on her. But sure enough, one strike of that flint, we had fire. So good for you, baby. I'm proud of you. Proud of you. Russ, there's Guy, you're coming up here in a second. Russ, Susan went with us. And unfortunately, she had to work tonight. So, guys, I did like a pre-record because I wanted her to be heard. I did a pre-record earlier today. Now, her internet was a little iffy. She lives way back in the woods, you see. So that's a Hank Williams Jr. reference, by the way.
Just the woman and the kids, dogs and the kids.
Right. So I apologize for the quality of this video, but Susan went with us. She was great to be around. She's definitely a member of the tribe. So I'm going to go ahead, Russ, if you can see it, go ahead and run that Susan interview, please. Well, here we go. We are live with Susan right now. Now, Susan, I know you couldn't be with us on the live broadcast tonight, but I wanted to get your input on the first annual, and I'm not even going to say first annual, I'm going to say the first or the hike that we took last weekend. So tell me, what prompted you, what made you want to go on this crazy 3-day hike?
Spend some time with my friends. That was the first motivator.
Yeah, and now we had quite a few people there. Did everybody get along pretty good during the hike?
Felt so. Got to meet some new folks, thanks to you, and I just really had a good time. It was really just awesome for me. So I was talking about it all day yesterday at work. So
that's awesome. Now, did you prepare for the hike? Now, you're a pretty outdoorsy person. You do a lot of work around the homestead and stuff. But did you prepare in any way in particular for the hike itself, or did you just let it ride?
Then I knew it was going to be warm, so I was hydrating a few days just to just die from the heat.
And how heavy was your pack on this particular hike? Do you have any idea?
I didn't want that number weighing me down. So I weighed it when I got back, right around 36.5 pounds.
Well, now 36 pounds, and you're a pretty small gal, so that's quite a load. How did you feel during the hike? Did you feel like, is there anything you would have taken out of your pack that you really didn't need? Is there anything you would have done without?
Well, the first time that I packed it, I put it on, and I could have come out. But that wasn't, overall probably 5 pounds of the original pack. So the only was missing was that additional cup that I was, because I'm a coffee snob. I wanted to drink out of my coffee cup.
Now, what do you think, Susan? What do you think was the most important item that you couldn't live without? The most important item that benefited maybe yourself or the entire crew? What was that one item that you just didn't want to do without?
Well, definitely the water filter. Real handy for the whole group. And, instead of going with the regular filter that come with it, I put that so I wasn't afraid to drink that water. I probably, if I didn't have to go through some other processes to make the water drinkable, along too. So I wanted to make sure I had backups.
Sure. And so for those of you that weren't out there on a hike, Susan brought this basically it was a platypus bag, 6 liter, had a hose, and then she took off the factory filter that was on there because we weren't quite sure, and it wasn't a Sawyer filter, which is what we really wanted to put on there. So she took that one off and she screwed on that Sawyer filter, and basically kept the entire group hydrated with minimal going back and forth to the pond. So that was certainly a lifesaver, I think. So Susan, one question: would you do it again?
Heck yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it next weekend.
Let's do it every other weekend. Good. And what did you think? So we had a pretty good crew with us. What was the worst part of the entire hike?
It didn't have a worst part, honestly, Pete. Going back the sand hill into the prairie, that was a little well, I was trying to keep up a tiny teach there, and that was another thing that was to accomplish too. I wanted to see, because I know I can walk fast and I know I can carry a boat, see if I could do it at her level. So but that sand hill and camp smoke for 2 days, it was a little rough. Up to the top there, everything was fine.
And what advice, if somebody were to do this again, what advice would you give them?
Make sure that you got what you need. Don't overpack, but especially if you're going, I think we relied on one another once we got there, so there was a lot of could have done without in our packs. But if it's not something you normally do, then you should probably try to what they call accidental and exercise, like park at the end of the first parking spot. Just to kind of move yourself and other ways to use your muscles. So
absolutely, that's all very good advice. Just a little bit, just that little bit of extra physical activity leading up to it might have made the world a difference for some, right? Well, Miss Susan, we certainly appreciate you going on the hike with us. We love you. We're glad you're a part of the tribe, and we're very happy that you were able to at least get your interview on before you had to work tonight. Thank you very much, and God bless, sweetie.
I love all of y'all. So
there you go. That's Miss Susan right there. She was a rock star. So fun. So getting back to somebody had mentioned something about Melissa and I think it was you, Russ, with the 6-pack of beer, right? So there's these things. They do it on the Appalachian Trail a lot. They do it on the Florida Trail. They call them trail angels. And every now and then they'll pick up a spot on the trail and drop off some goodies because they know maybe you didn't carry enough water. Maybe you wanted a Pringle or something. Who knows? But they'll drop these things off. So when we went to our camp, I noticed there was 2 brand new bottles of water there, unopened. So I go, that's cool. Trail Angel was here. We didn't need water. We were good. But Mrs. Tooch happened to go over there because she's always inquisitive. She always wants to get in someone's business, right? She's going to check something out. Something's out of the ordinary. She's going to check it out, see what's going on, right? And behind it, and this is where it paid off for us. This is where her being a little bit nosy paid off. Behind the water, behind the log, was a 6-pack of German beer, still cold, in ice, that she was able to share with the entire crew, which was kind of cool. Muted.
Absolutely. And I had a bit of a frog in my throat. I had to have a little more bourbon to kind of clear that up. But the funny story on that, she came out and she was like, "Oh, I found beer." And they're like, "You brought beer? You brought ice in your backpack?" And they're like, she's like, "Oh, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure." Melissa played it up, and from what I understand, and I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. Because Melissa is just as good as you are at doing that deadpan humor. And when I was told that story, I could just visualize Melissa's face. "Oh, absolutely. Here you go."
Right,
It was great.
Exactly. Perfect. Well, we got one more guest. He wandered off. Looks like he went to go get a glass of bourbon or something. He's my battle buddy now. And of course, he's shacked up and hooked up with Christy. So they're an item now.
Which does make me question his judgment on occasion.
Agreed. But certainly a good guy. One of those guys you certainly want to have on your team.
100%.
Welcome to the show, Guy. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing, all?
Guy is no stranger to the podcast. He has done podcasts before. He was on with Angry American. a couple of years ago. He came down to visit his mom. Met Chris for the first time and got to be on the podcast. So pretty cool. But Guy, great, always great to see you, brother.
Yep, pleasure seeing you.
So, guys, 3 days in the woods, right? With a whole bunch of people. What in the hell made you want to do that, brother? When you could have been in a nice, comfy bed.
Always got to challenge yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Gotta go do the stuff.
Gotta do the deed, right?
Correct.
And we had a pretty big group with us. What do you think of the crew we had with us? Did everybody get along pretty good?
Oh yeah, everybody was good. Got along. Everybody was helpful. Got to meet some new people, like everybody said. It was a great time.
Sure.
So, Guy, I mean, you were in the military as well. But how did you prepare for this? Like, did you do anything different, or you just went cold to see how you would do?
I just went cold. Just packed the bag like Pete said through his blog there for your bug out bag, pretty much. And went with it. It was probably about 45 pounds or so, give or take. The only thing I didn't have was my long gun, but ammo. But I did have the handgun with ammo with that.
Yeah, and I think you might have even brought your NVGs, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so he pretty much had almost everything he needed for his actual bug out bag, and that's why his pack was quite heavy. What's that number one item you couldn't live without out there in the trail?
Oh, number one item, the coffee. Got to have coffee to keep you going.
I like it. I like it.
And
what about
out there?
Yeah, what about the one thing you wish you had?
Wish I had? Probably wish I would have a sleeping bag for Saturday night when I got cold. I just had the poncho liner, so that would probably help out.
Yeah. So out of all the stuff you brought, and this is like a two-part question. How much of it was Chrissy's, and what would you not bring next time? And I only say that to mess with Chrissy.
Right. Actually, the only thing I carried that was for both of us was the tent.
Mm-hmm.
That was my part of it. And what I wouldn't bring, I'm not sure. I probably is all the extra food I had. I probably packed too heavy on food.
Yeah.
For the mission, I think you had too much food for the mission, for lack of a better way of putting it. Okay.
Yeah. And that's understandable. Oh, look at it. What's on your face there? What do you have going on?
Your cat.
What was the worst part of the hike for you, Guy?
Oh, going through that prairie when it was just blistering hot there.
Yeah. So, and that part of the prairie wasn't even bad. When me and baby girl used to do that hike, that entire part from the prairie sign itself all the way out to Hidden Pond for the most part was desolate. Yeah. Like there was zero shade. Dang. That would have killed us.
Well, the other bad part was on the way back when walking through the log crossing when I fell off the log and I decided to get the branch in the groin area.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Well, they would have left me. Exactly. So I didn't even mention that. We had one plank crossing, Russ, down a pretty big ravine, and then a log crossing, which everyone did awesome on. But sure, some of us got wet. I've never been across that log with other hikers where at least somebody did not get wet. So that's just the way it is. But everybody did really good, I thought.
So
definitely.
Would you do it again? And I know the answer because I know you mentioned a few minutes ago before we started that you're going to try to do the virtual ruckus ruck with Refuge Medical, doing it virtual.
Yep, I'd like to do that. See if any of you guys want to do it. Get a team of us to do it all.
Yeah, might as well. Well, now we got our trail legs under us. We might as well just keep it going, right? Any advice for someone who wants to do this?
Practice, hydrate before the hike, before you do something like this. Just gotta try it and do it. Push yourself.
Yeah, gotta try and do it. Guy, thanks for being on the show, brother. We love you.
I got one more thing.
Go ahead.
Will gave this to Christy. I don't know if I can see it here. At the end of the hike that she got, that Will bought, and Will gave that to Christy. Yes.
Oh, very cool.
That made her very happy.
Very cool. Very cool.
There you go.
All right. Good show, guys. Thanks, Guy. Appreciate you. We'll see you over there in a few minutes. We'll have a bourbon.
Bye, everyone.
One of the things that the reoccurring thing was too much water or not enough water. It's a fine line. Um, but if you have a way of procuring water, you don't have to carry as much water. And you also have
Yeah.
to know
Mhm.
that, this is a little bit more physical exertion, walking 6 miles through sugar sand with a pack on your back is a lot more physical than it is walking 5 miles a day according to your little Fitbit and you're walking around on flat ground. A lot more
Right.
physical exertion, so you have to make sure you have to have water. And sunflower seeds are a great way of maintaining salt, but it also makes you thirsty. So you're going to drink
Yeah.
water more quickly.
Yeah.
It's
So
a fine line that you have to learn to balance.
Yep, exactly. Sandy, we did most everybody brought some type of freeze dried meal. I actually wanted to test my freeze dryer and some of the food that I made, so I brought that out to see how it tasted with the Harvest Right freeze dryer. So that was one thing I wanted to do to see if I could live off that freeze dried food. That was my own recipes. So that was certainly one good thing that I did. But yeah, everybody for the most part had had freeze dried food.
So, all of these folks answered the question, Steve, but you haven't really answered. So I'm going to pick and choose a couple of them. You said your pack was about 20 pounds before the water.
Hmm.
Um, what would you have brought that you didn't bring?
I tell you what I would have brought. What I would have brought is one of those lightweight camping chairs that everybody was talking about. Because my legs got tired right from walking. Oh, whatever, no big deal. But what hurt equally as bad, if not more, was sitting on a damn log, Russ, for 3 days. That hurt so bad. So one of these I would carry the extra pound 3 ounces for one of these lightweight camping chairs. 100%, hands down. I'm buying it for my whole family, one for each of our pack. It's gonna happen.
All right. So what was the worst part for you?
Man, it's hard. It's hard to say there was a worst part for me, Russ. I love being out in the woods. I love being out there with mini me. There, I'll be honest. There was no worst part for me. I mean, now with that being said, I had Melissa out there for the first time, so I was a little bit concerned with how she was going to do that. So a little anxiety there, right? So if I had to pinpoint any one thing that gave me a little angst, it was just making sure she was all right. Now I knew Tiny Tooch was going to be a rock star. She doesn't care, but just making sure that she was quasi comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right. I understand. I understand that completely. And we're getting toward the end of the show. What advice would you give to anyone that wants to do it again or to do it for the first time?
Yeah, look, guys, you got to get out and do it. You got to get out. Look, I know we all work full time job. Well, most of y'all work full time job. I just write books and do silly podcasts, and drink bourbon. But we need to make some time a couple of times a week and get out and move. Our buddy T says move with purpose, right? Move with purpose. It's a real thing. It's a real thing, especially if you think you're going to be into preparedness. If you think you're going to be into preparedness and not ever work on your cardio, not ever put your pack on, you are not into preparedness. Now, with that being said, some people simply can't make the walk. They can't do it. Then find out other means. It's just a way it is. Sorry. Okay, so walk the walk, and then you're able to talk. That's my advice. Get out there and just move. And like T says, move with purpose, man. Move with purpose.
A couple of questions over there. Let's see here. Rev brought one out. Um, how big or small of an IVAC is recommended? Now, my opinion on that, an IVAC is for you.
Yeah.
It's for you. And an IVAC shouldn't be used unless you absolutely need it. Now, if you're like me and someone can look at you cross-eyed and you start bleeding, you're going to have a little package of freaking Band-Aids and stuff like that for your, the little boo-boos. But the small, you don't want to bring a squad bag of first aid or a freaking trauma bag on something like this. But having the knowledge of being able to use what you have in your pack in a first aid situation is almost more valuable than the fancy IVAC kit. Can you make a tourniquet with what you have in your pack? 100%. Is it going to do the job? Absolutely. It may not look the prettiest, but I mean, if you're as old as I am, Rev, you're older than I am. I mean, he used back when he was in the Civil War. He used a freaking, piece of wood and a freaking cravat to make a tourniquet. So it just depends on what you want, but just remember, ounces equals pounds, pounds equals pain. So
Yeah,
what do you think of
agreed. Yeah, and I agree with that. And let's not confuse a blowout kit from an individual first aid or a first aid kit, I should say. And those first aid kits are personal. They're specific. You might need medicines in there that obviously I don't need. If you got thin skin that has a tendency to get skin tears a lot, you're going to need more Band-Aids than I'm going to need. So those are personal to each one that's hiking. So that's a good question, Rev. I like it.
Let's see what else we got here. Will mentioned he brought 2 MREs that were heavy. Strip them down, Will. Open them
Yeah.
up, strip it down to the bare minimums. Take them all out of the cardboard. Every little bit helps.
Yeah, and I
When it
think
comes to backlight.
Russ, what's your take? What's your take on this? I think the days of MREs are over. I think there's more nutritious options out there. I think there's lighter options. Now I get the draw for the MRE, but I think you can accomplish
Absolutely.
the same thing without that extra weight.
100%. And you and I had this discussion today with the gentleman we had lunch with. From a freeze dried perspective, especially if you're doing your own freeze drying, whether it goes from going on a hike or bugging in, bugging out. If you have something that you really enjoy, it's a family favorite, it's that comfy comfort food, and you freeze dry it, you can still have it. And it gives you the same nutritional value that it gives you pretty close compared to canning or anything else. And it doesn't have all those extra preservatives in it that number one, MREs, even Mountain Fresh Foods and the other ones like that. A lot of them have different preservatives, but you can make your own judgment when it comes to what preservatives you want to put in your body.
Exactly.
And they're actually made by Sonopac in Mullins, South Carolina, which is about 45 minutes from my home. And they do not sell wholesale or retail at the plant, which makes me mad. But they're great in a pinch, they're great in a pinch. Throw a couple of them in your vehicle. Vehicle breaks down, you happen to have it if you don't have your bag with you.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm with you.
There's a place for them, but it's very limited in my opinion, especially when you're looking at and for the most part, you can take all those parts and pieces of an MRE and put your own together if you knew somebody with a freeze dryer. And I'm telling you, everybody in our circle knows somebody with a freeze dryer. So something to consider. Russ, we've been going for an hour and almost a half. I'm gonna let you.
Oh man, it was a good show though. I really enjoyed reliving the experiences of the folks that made the hike. Like I said, I'm a bit jealous that I wasn't able to go, but hopefully next time. Um, Consider this training, folks, and we always preach training. Train with the folks that you know. It makes you closer as a tribe, closer as a group. Um, different today, guys. Survived. There were a couple that had some serious doubts as to whether or not they would make it, but they did. And, I'm proud of each and every one of them that made it. And, we'll see you guys next.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Russ, and thanks for everything you do in the background. Guys, like Russ says, get out there and train, do your thing, live for today. Don't worry about what could happen in the world. If you watch too much news, you're certainly going to get overwhelmed with that stuff. Live for today. Get out there and train. Get out there and move, right? And most importantly, be safe. If you can't be safe.
Thanks for watching the Eden Army podcast. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And remember, be safe. If you can't be safe, be dangerous.